we have built up out there in the population, human casualty, and property destruction is going to be immense. Frankly, I think that would bankrupt the state of California and come close to bankrupting the federal government if California, Southern California, was to currently experience the way things are now and finances are right now. California couldn't absorb that. No way. No, not even close. They're in such financial trouble right now. It is redonkulous. And if they lose a huge tax base due to a major earthquake, that's going to sink the state. Fiscally, it's going to sink them. And the federal government's going to have to come in and step up and put in all kinds of money, and it's just going to be, and you know that there's going to be lawsuits because of shoddy construction and government not properly preparing and doing what it's supposed to be doing and spending the money in the right place, and all sorts of stuff is going to come out, and there are going to be lawsuits, and the federal government's going to have to cover a lot of that. We, the taxpayer, is going to have to cover that, and that's going to put a tremendous strain on the federal budget. Because that is going to be, I'm going to say that if Southern California had a natural disaster of a 5.0 or greater on the Richter scale earthquake, it would cost the state of California and the federal government at least $1 trillion. At least. That's just money that the state and the Fed just doesn't have. It's going to be like Katrina all over again. We're going to start hearing about all this stuff. Well, we gave you money to do this with it and to shore up this and shore up that, kind of like New Orleans. Everybody wants to blame Bush, but it comes to find out that, hey, all you local people, we gave you the money to do things to make sure this type of thing wouldn't happen. And guess what? You didn't spend the money where you're supposed to spend the money, and things didn't get built that were supposed to get built, and things didn't get reinforced that were supposed to be reinforced. And so now we have this once-in-a-lifetime category. Katrina comes along and wipes you out, and it's George W. Bush's fault. No, it's not. It was some people did go to jail over Katrina. I know Mayor Nagin, he didn't go to jail for that stuff. He should have, but he's serving jail time for something else, other types of corruption. But he should have gone to jail for what he did over in Katrina when he was mayor. Same with, what was the governor? She was the governor at the time. Can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she should have gone to jail too. Corruption all over. Notice how when Democrats are caught with the hand in the cookie jar and corruption, oh, no, don't hear much about it. No big deal. Oh, it doesn't happen all the time. It's so rare, and it seems like they get caught one after the other. Remember, what was it, Jackson? He had all that money, all that cash in his freezer. And his excuse, I don't know where that came from. Like, no, it was his freezer. He doesn't know that he had... That gives a new meaning. Anyway, so look, California is always going to be under threat of a major earthquake. SoCal is always going to be under that threat. Problem is that they know it's coming. They know that someday it's going to happen. But the state and the federal government refuses to prepare for it properly. Just saying. Oh, it'll cost too much money to prepare for it. Well, either you pay for it a little bit up front now and over time, or you're really going to pay for it after this thing happens. And Southern California is not going to be able to be rebuilt as fast as it could because of all that. It is going to take decades instead of years. Hell, look how long it took them to replace the Twin Towers, by the way. I mean, they did the 10 towers. The Freedom Tower. It didn't open until last year. When was the attack? 2001. It took us 13 years. No, only government could take that long, and then pat itself on the back when they finish the job. I don't think they were still 100% done down there. We're about 14 years on now, and I don't think they're still 100% done. That's embarrassing. If they just would have done like people said, hey, you want to get back at the terrorists? Just build the damn towers where they were, as they were. And hell, while we're at it, just make it taller. That's all they had to do. There was no need to come up with this new design. But, whoa, yeah, we're going to really show them by coming up with the Freedom Tower. How about rebuilding the damn Twin Towers and calling it Freedom Plaza then instead of World Trade Center? Oh, dude, that seemed to would have worked. That was a monument. That would have been a living monument to all the people who died. But instead, we ran into a bureaucratic nightmare that went over budget, that took years longer than it should have, and they're still not done. I mean, that is just disgraceful in my book. Anyway, on to Biden. Biden announces he's not running. Told you he wasn't going to run. He was taking too long. He was waiting for the okay from Obama. And Obama decided, for whatever reason, not to give him the okay. You see, all of this changed. I'm going to tell you when this stuff changed. All of this changed when we found out that Bill Clinton and Barack Obama played golf together. Now, let me tell you something. I reported on that here on the show. I commented on it. Let me tell you something. What happened on that golf course, what was exchanged between those two men, who do not like each other, by the way. They don't like each other. You got a former president who's still got some clout within the Democratic Party and a Democrat, registered Democrats. He's got a lot of clout with him. And you got a current president who's worse than that former president was, as far as in the people's minds, and who's leaving office too, and soon to become a former president. There's some stuff that both of them have on each other, and I'm sure they were whacking that ball saying, oh, yeah, well, you do this, and I'm going to do this. Well, yeah, you do this, you do that, and I'm going to do this. Let me tell you something, Barack. If you do that, I'm going to end your life. I'm going to tell you that right now. You're going to wish your life was over. Physically, it was over because politically and everything else after the presidency that comes about. Let me tell you, there's a lot of good stuff that comes on after the president. After you're president, let me tell you, you ain't going to get it because I'm going to ruin it. I tell you, I'm going to ruin your life. I'm going to kill you. Well, hey, I got this on your wife. If you use that, I'm going to ruin you. Well, then she better not win or else I'll ruin her. I'm telling you. That's what was going on. I would have loved to have been, a little grasshopper following them around because that's what was going on. And I'm sure Clinton was saying, you endorse anybody else to run against my wife, it's all over for you. I'm sure he was probably warning Obama, you better find a way to keep Biden out of it. Because this whole notion, oh my God, I have to grieve for my son. And then we get this leak from Biden's camp, on his deathbed, his son is telling him, Dad, you got to run, man. That would be my legacy. Run and win, Dad. He's not running. He's going to deny his son's last wish and not run? Oh, no. Look, I told you he wasn't going to run. But there's some really wild, wicked hey, it is October, almost Halloween. There's some wicked shenanigans going on behind the scenes. Let me tell you, you want to talk about high politics high politicking going on? That stuff has been happening for the last 3 months. And it finally came down where Barack said, hey, Joe, I'm sorry, man. You can't run. Just not going to happen this time. Because, listening, I heard excerpts of the speech, and there are people out there saying Joe sounded like he wanted to run, and he sounded like he was leaving the door open that he might be able to slip in, because he doesn't have enough time to launch a campaign. We're still a year out, and he's Joe Biden, for God's sakes. He doesn't have to win the New Hampshire primary, as Bill Clinton proved that, in order to go on and get the nomination. He's got plenty of time. He's already got the groundwork already done. It's not like he has to build up the ground. It's already there. I mean, there are lots of draft Joe Biden people out there. Yeah, we got to get Joe. Joe's already got his ground team ready to go. He doesn't have to build it. He's already got money, and he had backer. There were people that were overtly saying that they would stop backing Clinton, leave Clinton, and start contributing to Biden if he got in the race. So he wasn't going to be hurting for money either. He had everything he needed, and this is his excuse. The door has closed. It's too late for me to run. Even though I wanted to run, these mean people over here telling me that I could not run, so I'm not running this time. Because of the grieving process of my son, grieving process took too long? Oh, give me a break. Well, I'm not dissing them on feeling bad and sad and sorrowful over the death of Beau Biden. Death in the family is hard on anybody, especially a child of a parent who's still alive. That's very difficult. I understand that. It's very difficult to lose any loved one in your family. It's very hard. It takes time. I agree. But in the meantime, you move on. You got to do what you have to do, what you feel you need to do in order to keep living and to make sure that their life actually meant something. So Biden was put under a lot of pressure and basically told, you better not run. I guarantee you that's what happened. Because that speech that I heard excerpts of today, that didn't sound like a speech. It should have been a short speech. Yeah, the time for me to run, to make the decision to run, it's too late. I don't have the time to put this together and that together, and put a viable campaign. And we're still smarting from the loss of my son. The family's still hurting. We're still grieving, blah, blah. That's not what the man said. I mean, basically, it sounded to me like he was leaving the door open, hoping that somebody would let him get in the race. Because he wants to run. I'm telling you, that's it. He's not going to run. Because people aren't going to let him. There are certain powers that be that aren't going to let him. And I don't... How often do you see a vice president give a speech that he's not running and have the president standing next to you? It's usually a personal decision. With Obama standing next to good old Joe, that tells me something. Well, first of all, we know that Joe is, insert open mouth, insert foot daily. So, yeah, that happens. But it also tells me that by having the president there, it was like this living reminder. Joe, you're here to tell people that you're not running. Don't say anything too stupid because you're not running. That's why Obama was there. To be a constant living reminder. I'm telling you, Joe, you got to keep it straight, man. You ain't running. Have we ever, has that, I don't recall, I don't know. Maybe I'm reaching here, but maybe I'm looking too deep into all this stuff, but there is just something else there. And I haven't quite put my finger on it yet, but I guarantee you I will. Just stick with me, folks, because something is afoul in Denmark, as it were. Something's just not right. Doesn't make... Hey, by the way, did you hear Clockboy Ahmed? Did I mention this yesterday? I think I mentioned it. Clockboy Ahmed is moving. Ahmed Mohammed is moving. He's moving to the Middle East. That's right. I guess he got tired of all this freedom that he's got here in the United States, and he needs to go to a country where he can practice his fake briefcase bomb building skills. So yeah, he's moving, and the press is sort of saying that, oh, the poor kid, he's fleeing the country because we're so mean to him. No, he's moving because his dad, who also happens, I do believe, is an American citizen, has just decided to say, well, you know what? That was a dry run. Now we got to go teach Ahmed the real stuff. Let's go, Ahmed. We're going to get you indoctrinated properly away from these Americans.